Citizens Coalition calls on government to immediately work through the agric ministry to identify staples whose prices are solely driven by transportation costs and inefficient systems of delivery to urban markets from farms to markets. And that's the a big part of. There are things that we can eat that if you go outside of Accra, it's much cheaper, and yet you are buying it 3-4 times, in Accra. So if it can be brought from wherever it is, we should be able to facilitate that. That I think should ease some of the suffering around food inflation. Second, review the current policy to force the sale of FX foreign currency from mining companies, depriving commercial banks of forex for trading. Now, certainly there is a need to have tighter controls on the use of forex at commercial banks so that it is not used to hoard dollars. I mean, that's happening currently. Everybody is channeling the dollars to Bank of Ghana so that they can look at critical sectors, but it leaves no dollars for anything. So we have to really review that policy because it's creating even more demand and making the depreciation even worse. 3, we strongly recommend that the government encourage public and private sector employers to return to the flexi working or work from home schemes deployed during the COVID-19 lockdown and after. This will help mitigate the pressure on particularly young people and those in the lower income brackets to manage the cost of transport. There are people spending huge sums of money coming from Kaswa to their work. And we did some of those things during the pandemic. We have to see those who can work from home, at least in the short term, to deal with some of the challenges. But people are spending all their money on transportation. So we need to find practical ways of limiting our expenditure on it. We're also asking government to consider adding the supply of life-saving chronic medicines to the list of critical items that need forex from the Bank of Ghana. If you're on BP medicine like I am, if you are not able to get your BP medicine, for many people, it's a life and death situation. And for our seniors, those who are much older and have to rely on this, diabetes, all those kinds of things. So we have to find a solution to those areas, and we have to consider them as a critical sector. We strongly support ongoing talks between the government and the banks to look at domestic debt restructuring. And we also strongly call on the president as a matter of urgency to address the nation. We understand the president might be addressing the nation on Sunday. And we believe that as he had done during the pandemic, we want to get more information. As I said, we are not waiting. IMF and Prof. Titua will talk about that, so let me not say our current challenges. And whatever we need to do. Ladies and gentlemen, there are important matters of courage. To be frank, to recognize that this is the time for us to take those decisions that we have been putting aside for many citizens and to assuage their fears. The president must listen to Ghanaians and lead the nation. His ministers and deputies must work to find short-term solutions to stem the tide of uncertainty and fear. That is why we are paying them. A national stakeholder forum can help to develop consensus on priorities for the medium to long term. And we remain committed to our duties as citizens to ensure public power and resources are used primarily for the benefits of citizens. We are also totally committed to the survival of our democracy, despite its challenges. As citizens, we must take on the responsibility to hold our governments to account in between elections, so we can correct the misbehavior early on before it undermines our commonwealth. We tend to just watch things just go bad until there's a crisis, and then we are all trying to push. We have to change that behavior. We have to change that behavior. And therefore, coups, the talk of coups and other forms of unconstitutional changes in government are never the answer to our economic and governance woes, which is why citizens and civil society exist to hold those duty bearers accountable. The citizens that jubilated over coups in Mali, Guinea, and Burkina are now experiencing the full brutality of military rule. And it should be a lesson for all of us. We want to assure all Ghanaians that we will create and communicate platforms for citizens to share their views, grievances, and their reliefs that they need in the coming days. So there are a lot of people who are despondent, who are not sure. And I think we have to give them an opportunity to also share what kinds of reliefs, what can we do. There are no easy answers, but it doesn't mean that people can't think and find practical solutions. So we have to create those platforms, particularly for the young people, who really can't see ahead what their future is going to be. And in the spirit of democracy, and that's exactly what democracy is about, so that we can ensure that our democracy is for and by the people, that we listen to the people and we take action.
A smaller government. That way we begin to see that there is seriousness about addressing the problems, cutting down costs. Every report that you read talks about government's profligacy, just wasting money. We all know about the leakages. And as we said in our statement, if one company can get concessions that come up to $1.5 billion, we're looking for $3 billion from the IMF. There's no guarantee that we'll get the $3 billion. If we can give concessions to one company to the value of $1.5 billion, think of how much we will be saving if we look at all these different agreements. Maybe we wouldn't need to go anywhere, but we need to take some very painful decisions. Recently, when the president went on his tours, people were photographing the convoys. They were complaining about all of these things. And even yesterday, one of the government, the MPP spokesperson was saying that there shouldn't be more than 7 vehicles, including the medical brigade and everything. And yet, this is not what people are doing. People are angry. They don't like this. It's a show that we cannot afford. To say that this is a democracy. The president asked us to be citizens and not spectators. So our eyes are wide open. We're looking at all of these things. So we are saying that it does not inspire confidence at a time when ordinary citizens are suffering.
And if this is your best, then here is what we have to say about it. 1, could you please come again and tell us if you have any new ideas? Then we can move on and hope that the new ideas will work. But if you really don't have any new ideas, then please resign. It's constitutional. You can leave. It's okay. One of the things we are saying, short of asking the president to leave, is show us just the token of maybe shifting your team. Okay, do something about the people who are in charge of this. Another reasonable thing that has been said is that if the finance minister has expressed severally on different occasions that he does not believe in the IMF solution, then please, he should not be leading that team. I think it's reasonable. All right. We also want to send a message to our parliamentarians. We support what you did. It's constitutional and it's proper. We just don't have the kind of constitution that the British have, where the party can remove the president and put somebody there. But at least we do have a parliament and they do have those powers. And we are saying that only a fool waits for his sore to become so chronic that he has to cut his foot.